And Emily, thank you for tilling the soil for us this morning, because I think today, with the theme, which is creating a life of faith, it's about really checking in with our own faith, because our faith is going to be the biggest determinator of the kind of life we live. And what we know, first and foremost in our tradition and teaching, is that the universe is a spiritual system. So what's really true about the universe is a lot of it we don't see. It's a spiritual system, but this isn't just new to us. It didn't just start right now. In the book of Hebrews, Paul's letter to the Jews, he says, "What is seen is made from things not seen." And my dear mystic friend Rumi said, "Everything visible has an invisible archetype." And Neil Donald Walsh says, "Life is energy, pure energy that circles back into itself." So if we can trust there's some amazing, invisible power that's there for us, a wisdom, a creativity, possibilities that reside in every moment, we know that our good has already been given. I mean, haven't we heard thousands of years ago, it is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. There is nothing that can deny that. It's already been given, except our misuse of faith. When we don't have the faith to believe in this power for good that's already there, this wisdom that is there for us, the creative energy that's always there, if we don't have the faith to believe in that, we live a limited life. Do you agree with that? Our life is smaller. Our faith that we have for this thing called life and how to use it, our faith is the container that holds how much good we can have. And Emily was asking you, how big is your container? Because our container is going to decide how much good, no matter what the situation is, how much good we can experience with our faith. And that faith and that container is built from our beliefs, our acceptance, and our trust. So this morning, I really want you to be thinking about what are the beliefs that you have about yourself, about life, about God, about the world, and where can you find a belief buster, you know? Sucking up all those old beliefs we don't want anymore, because this is what Ernest Holmes says. I love this. He says, we're all immersed in an atmosphere of our own thinking. But there's another line too. He says, this decides what shall take place in our lives. Now, not necessarily what takes place out here, but how we experience what takes place. So we need these little belief busters to suck up all those old beliefs, the outmoded ones that I don't know where we picked them up, but they just don't work anymore because they're keeping our container of faith either too small or too leaky. You know, we can believe for a minute and then we don't believe anymore. So we've got to really be checking it out and keep that little belief buster handy. You know, I don't just ask you to do things. I worked on a little belief buster list last night, and I found a few little cobwebby beliefs that need to be, you know, readjusted, remolded, reshaped into something new. The problem with us is we have to be aware. Or just beware. Just beware that too many of us have faith in fear. Faith in fear. Do you know that? We have this faith. Oh, when's the next shoe going to drop? Right? What's going to happen next? Am I going to do this all over again? Or is this, how many times is this going to happen? Because we have faith in fear. It's misplaced faith. We have more faith in fear than we do in faith that life is good. And when we have that misplaced faith, we are believing in two powers. Instead of God that we know is good and all-powerful, we have a faith in God and something else. And so we have this contradicting beliefs. And we are creative beings, and so our mental equivalent, or what we're thinking about, is what we're creating with. That's that invisible archetype that Rumi was talking about. We're creating all the time because our thoughts are creative. But can you imagine having contradicting beliefs? I mean, that God doesn't do that, but I can only imagine how it would be feel to have all these, confusing thoughts coming at you. What are you creating then? A bunch of stuff, but not a clear, focused vision of what we really want. So I want you to think about your faith. How are you doing? Do you have more faith right now in fear because of what's happening in this world? Do you have more faith in fear? Or is this a time when you're saying, I need to really activate the faith in myself, that belief that life is inherently good? Just say that with me. Life is inherently good. And then if we can keep feeding that to ourselves, to understand that, there's so much more going on than we can see. If we can accept, and there's the belief, we can expand our little container if we believe that, life is inherently good, and accept that everything that happens, even if we don't understand it, is part of a divine plan. Everything that happens is part of a divine plan. There are some times we just don't understand that. And I know you can all go to those places where your faith has been shaken to the core. I remember sitting at my mentor's desk and just saying, how can God be good? If all this happens in the world, how can God be good? I didn't get it. I lost my faith temporarily. And I remember we were crying together. And we can know that life is good even if we don't see it, but sometimes it's so hard to do. But if we just expand that container of our belief that we know, it's all part of a divine plan. We're going to climb a little ladder of faith in just a minute. But we also need to trust, because this container of faith is built on your beliefs, your acceptance, and your trust that life is for me and not against me. Sometimes that's hard. But let's say it together. Life is for me, not against me. We need to learn to live affirmatively, positively. Now, it doesn't mean you cannot have a pity party, because I think we need pity parties, but we need short little pity parties, not the ones that keep going all the time. We need to be able to get things out of our system. We need to get things out so we don't have to hold them in, but we need to do them in safe places for a short amount of time. Because we need to learn to live affirmatively and turn things around, that we can say, life is good. Life is for me. And we can change it up. We can change it up and turn it around. The other thing, we need to learn to be steady in the world, that we don't flop back and forth all the time. Are you flip-flopping right now? We do that sometimes. We flip back and forth because we're not really sure. And that's when we really need our spiritual practices. I love to see people as they walk out of meditation. And thank you, Madeline. I love to see people when they walk out in the morning, because they're centered and there's an aura of peace around them. And it's for 20 minutes in a day that you can pull yourself back to center. Pull yourself back to that place where you understand the power of faith. Now, Jesus he got it. His faith, there was not even any ladder he had to climb. He was so far up there. He knew about faith, and he used that faith to heal, because he knew that the power was there for him always. There was no turning it on or off. It was always there. But he wasn't that nice to his disciples sometimes. Because he knew that if they were going to follow his teaching and be his teachers and carry on what he taught, they were going to have to get bigger containers. And he said, whatever happened when Peter was trying to walk on water and then got scared and fell in, and he had to pull him out. He said, "Oh, ye of little faith." I mean, come on. Can you think the athletes right now in the Olympics when they're looking back? I mean, how many times have we sabotaged our own good, our own possibility because what? We got scared. We got scared, and they reflect back. But if you can look, it's a good learning experience if we're willing to accept it. But oh, ye of little faith. And we can say that to ourselves when we realize we're in that place. I just don't have enough faith right now. I don't have enough faith to move forward. And so what do? We have practitioners. We have ministers here that are spiritual counselors to help reignite and realign us with our faith. Realign us with our faith. There was a blind beggar, a story in the Bible tells, who was at the side of the road, and he heard that Jesus was present. And he yelled out, "Master, Master, have mercy on me." And the crowd's telling him, "Be quiet. Jesus is here." But he knew that. "Master, help me now." And instead of telling him to be quiet, Jesus said, "Bring him here." But here's what he did. I'm sure he knew what the problem was for this man. But he said, "What do you ask of me? What do you want of me?" Because we have to ask the universe for what we want. We can't expect life just to know. We've got to put it out there in focus. And the beggar said, "I want my sight back. I want to regain my sight." And Jesus said, "Go. It is your faith that has healed you." And the man stood up and followed Jesus down the road with the crowd. His faith had healed him. He had faith in someone else, but that can heal us too. We don't have to always go straight to the source here, but we can use a diversion, and we can have faith in someone who has faith, and it can work in our lives. So I'm going to ask us today to really see where we need to readjust our life, because we need faith, for me now more than ever. Because how many of you think it seems like pretty dark times right now? Okay, be honest. If you don't, great. Your faith is really good. But it's not that the times are so much darker than they've been. But I'm not sure we have as much faith either as we need or we've had before. So I'm going to ask us to climb this ladder of faith together right now, and be honest with yourself, because we're all on this journey, and it's all about the lessons that are here for us. So again, when you're standing on this ground, you want to be standing in the belief that life is inherently good, accept that we're part of a divine plan, and trust that life is for us. And you have to stand sturdy and strong, because, as I said, if you have these contradicting beliefs, when somebody wants to take your picture, if you don't want your picture taken, you're going like this because nobody can get you in focus, right? But if somebody wants a picture, they tell you to what? Stand still. Look at the camera. Stand still. Be focused. And then you can do that. So I'm asking us to stand still, breathe in before we climb this ladder of faith. And the first thing I'm going to invite you to do on the first rung of this ladder of faith is to have an open mind. We need to open our mind from those blinders we've had on. Blind faith doesn't work. In fact, I'll tell you something. Blind faith can get you in a lot of trouble. Blind faith is when you really haven't embraced what faith is all about. That invisible power, just like Ernest Holmes said, there's a power for good in the universe. Greater than I am, greater than you are, and we can use it. But remember, we have to use it. But we have to have that faith that there's power there. So I just invite you to take your blinders off, open your mind, and when you leave today or right now, start looking for the unexpected things. Start looking for the awe. Wasn't it Rabbi Heschel who said, look at life with awe and everything will change. If we go, instead of, if we have that openness to life, everything changes. That's just that first rung. Look for the unexpected. And the second rung right there is you're not going to like this one so much. An open mind was a little easier, I think, but we have to surrender. And we have to surrender. I think we learn to pray and put out our wishes and our wants, but then those wants and wishes turn into expectations. And we have to surrender that we know what's best. We don't always know what's best or what we need. We have to surrender to that and say, maybe I don't know best. Maybe I don't know what's best for me or you or our world right now. I just don't know, so I'm just going to surrender that much. And then the next rung of this ladder, I love this one. This one is about perspective. Now you're going to climb the next rung, and I don't want you to really step back if you're on a ladder, but step back in your mind, and I mean way back, because I'm going to invite us to look at this world through the eyes of the stars. And I don't mean movie stars. I mean the eyes of the stars. Can you imagine how the stars see this world where everything's working together and there's possibility and hope and goodness? If we can just see in a greater perspective and we step back and see through the eyes of the stars, doesn't that feel good? A bigger viewpoint, a bigger possibility. I love that. And the next rung, here's a little test. Just do this. And show me, where does God speak to you? Just show me. So, we have to use our intuition because God speaks to us in our heart and in our soul. Life is always speaking to us. The angels are always speaking to us. We have to listen, not with our outer ears, but with our inner ears, to hear the still small voice that's always guiding us to our good, always there for us. There's always insight. There are always things to know, but we have to listen. We have to take that time to open that space and listen. And last, and I guess the higher you get, the easier it is, but we have to look for the lessons and the gifts in every moment. What's in this for me? What am I to know? What's here for me? What is here? And we have to keep an attitude of radical amazement. Radical amazement at life itself. Let me tell you, if you choose right now in this looking for the gifts and lessons, if you choose to see life through the eyes of gratefulness, if you choose to make the most of every single moment in your life, okay, I'm going to, if it's a rest moment, if it's an active moment, if it's a prayer moment, if it's a conversation moment, if it's a crying moment, if you are fully present in all of those experiences, I'll tell you, life does extraordinary things and your faith expands beyond measure. So if you're ready to climb the ladder with me, of course this is the ladder of our own spiritual journey from the visible to the invisible world, I'm going to ask you to join me in prayer right now. As we close up this time of truly coming together in a consciousness of knowing that we are here right now, right here in this moment, we are here with the one intention to expand and grow our faith, that we can truly know and believe that life is inherently good. We can know that everything we need we have right now, that all the good has already been given, and as we open our hearts and our minds and accept that good and listen to that still small voice within us that guides us to new thoughts, new ideas, new possibilities, new ways of living, we can truly create this amazing world because of the eyes, the heart, the soul, the mind through which we see our world, the people and the things in it. as we open ourselves up, we open ourselves as we climb this ladder to a greater truth, a higher perspective, a greater understanding. Newness happens. Faith expands. Our container becomes bigger, and we truly can see our perfect and right place in this beautiful thing that we call life. We can see it now. We see it for others. We choose to be kind and loving to ourselves. We choose to bring a greater understanding. And even if we don't understand what's going on, we can hold the knowing that we are here on purpose for a reason, to be kind, to see through the eyes of love, to hold one another, to say thank you, God, for all of this, for the lessons and the gifts and the joy and the sorrow and all of it, because life is beautiful and I am grateful to be in it. So just knowing that, feeling the vibrancy of the energy and the message that we have right now, to keep on keeping on with faith in our hearts, creativity in our minds, and love in our lives, we say thank you, God, for all of this, and so much more. And let's seal it by saying, and so it is. And squeeze the hand of the person next to you, knowing that all we want for ourselves, we want for each other. That together, oh God, it makes me cry to see everybody holding hands. I love that part. We can make this world a better place just by reaching out and letting our life say, I love you. And so it is. Thank you.